Last week in chapel, I introduced the concept of mutual support. Mutual support. And this is something I talked about at length last year. And a lot of the discussion around mutual support in chapel centered around how we need to support one another in our activities. We're almost all activity involved here at Sterling College. And if we don't take the step to move beyond the things that we're doing to mutually support and care for one another in our other activities, that's not going to go well because we're too small of a community to exist without that. But mutual support as an idea extends far beyond just our categories. So I've mentioned in a few different ways over the course of my time here as chaplain, and we've featured this in a number of different settings, that we care very deeply about the work of cultural diversity here at Sterling College. So one instance of mentioning that was just a few weeks ago. I talked about the Listen and Learn challenge that we rolled out over the summer to intentionally place ourselves in a learning and listening posture from Black authors. That was in response to the tragic and senseless and racist killing of George Floyd that happened in Minneapolis over Memorial Day. But that's not all we're doing. That's not all we've done. We've cared about these matters long before Memorial Day and the tragedy that took place then. And indeed, we care about these matters first and foremost because God cares about these matters. The first page of my Bible and the first page of your Bible includes Genesis 1:27, which says that everyone, all people, are made in the image of God. And that is significant, incredibly significant. And it starts there and goes beyond. As I read my Bible, I read over and over again how deeply God cares about matters of cultural diversity. And so that's why we talk about these things. It's not a political soapbox for us in any sort of way. This is something that we believe is very close to God's heart and indeed is actually connected to the gospel. So we have a diversity committee that's been doing work over the past 18 months or so. And I mentioned when I gave the Listen and Learn announcement that we would be giving you a further update. That is coming, not today, but next week. We've been in a rhythm for chapel where we've had identical services on Wednesdays and Fridays. Next week's going to be a little different. I will close out our Close Reading Of series on Wednesday, October 7th. That's a week from today. And then on Friday, October 9th, instead of an identical service to Wednesday, we'll actually have something different, which will be an update from the Diversity Committee on the assessment work and everything that's been going on the last year, especially the last academic year. And so I'll communicate all this over an email. I know we only have a percentage of our students here today, and some of us are watching on video, but there is an update coming around what the Diversity Committee has been doing. Next week, there's 2 unique opportunities for chapel credit. You can come on Wednesday, which will be me preaching a close reading of, and you can also then come back on Friday to hear a close reading, to hear about the Diversity Committee update. Those will both still be sign-ups, just like we've been doing. So we're not going to pack out the Culbertson Auditorium on October 9th. We're still going to gather safely. So that's October 9th. That is coming. One of the specific areas that we know we need to continue to grow in around these matters and in these conversations is chapel. We know that that's related to what we're talking about and doing here. And that's not lost on me. It's not lost on Brett, who is standing behind me, and you heard from last week preaching in the series that we've been a part of. We want this to be a place that reflects the diversity of our student body in a number of different ways. And so I've asked Brett to say a few things about that before leading us in worship. And so Brett, go ahead and take us away on that.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. So I just want to echo everything Paul said about the reasons that we believe diversity is important because it matters to God. And obviously, being the worship person, I think that music is a big part of that. And if you've been here at Sterling for a few years, you've noticed that we have been attempting and trying to implement more diversified types of musical offerings, whether that's singing in Spanish or doing gospel songs, in addition to, sort of K-Love radio, CCM stuff. But the point being is that, as Paul said, we want to continue to diversify those and to reflect the beautiful diversity that we have on our campus. And so we're asking you as students to help us do that, and you can kind of do that in 2 ways. One would be, if you're a student who plays music and you have opinions about the types of music we should be performing, it's not, you don't see your church or your church background represented, please come audition, please come talk to me. I would love to have you be a part of the team, and I can speak on behalf of the students. They would love to have you too. So no matter what your other activities are, you don't have to be a music major or anything like that. We would love to have you involved that way. That said, if you're like, I don't sing, I don't play an instrument, but I still have opinions, I would still love for you to come talk to me. We're starting a chapel working group that's under the banner of the diversity committee that Paul mentioned before. And so we were asking students to come and to share about ways that we can continue to improve our chapel musical offerings and the types of things that we do in chapel so that everyone that's here can feel a part of the Sterling family in a more significant way. So we would love to hear your voice on that. And speaking of hearing your voices, I'd like to invite you to stand and let's sing together this morning.